University of Calgary researchers are raising the issue of the financial cost of male-perpetrated domestic violence. Later this morning, they're releasing a report on that topic titled, "It Costs More to Do Nothing." The report focuses on what domestic violence costs victims, governments, and taxpayers, and it recommends interventions. Lana Wells is the lead author of the report. She's a fellow at the University of Calgary's School of Public Policy. So what is the sort of headline finding in this report?
Domestic violence is expensive. And so my research hub at the University of Calgary has been asking a question: can we prevent violence in the first place instead of only reacting after it happens? And guess what? We can, and we need to invest in earlier intervention to not only save taxpayer dollars, but to save victims' lives and experiences of harm.
Can you say some more about that? Like how you landed on, and I want to approach this sensitively, but how you landed on a focus on the financial costs of domestic violence?
We asked two questions. One, what does it cost to not intervene earlier? And what can we save if we reduce domestic violence charges? And the answer is quite significant. In 2019 alone, domestic violence accounted for 21% of Calgary Police Service workload and 13% of the police budget directed at violence and criminal activity. And there were nearly 20,000 domestic-related calls, which were handled, and about 6,000 incidents, which means there were charges laid. And so it's not marginal work. It's a lot of work for Calgary Police. It carries a substantial human and financial costs. And if we're serious about prevention, we do need to act sooner.
So, okay, I mean, those are significant percentages of police resources. What did you come to as dollar amounts for what this is costing victims and the broader public?
Well, when we looked at police, court, and victim service costs, we found that in 2024 dollars, it's about $58 million a year, and over 90% of that cost is paid by taxpayers.
So, what is how do you break out victim costs? I mean, we're talking financial costs, recognizing that that's not all of it, clearly.
No, clearly. And I think more importantly, we're missing a window of opportunity. We know from our research, we've been working with Calgary Police Service for over 5 years now, really trying to understand patterns of perpetration and before men are charged with domestic violence. And we know about 2/3 of them had a domestic violence encounter, which means police showed up at their house. There wasn't enough to charge, but they came back to do a charge within the next few years. So there's an opportunity right there. If we were to divert those men to supports and services and behavioral interventions, we could reduce domestic violence by at least 40%.
Okay, so I hear you clearly identifying that sort of moment of interaction where, a higher level of engagement support. What kinds of supports exist now for men and boys who are demonstrating some risk of committing domestic violence?
I'm really happy you asked that question, because 5 years ago, I wouldn't be able to have an answer for that. But now we have an amazing initiative called MENAND. And so it's MENAND.ca. It's the MENAND project. It's being led by Jeff St. John and Kim Roos from Fears Not Love. And they have designed interventions with men for men. And so there's digital supports. So if there's listeners right now feeling that they may be causing harm or not sure how to manage conflict in their relationship, they can go online. They can also call a phone line. They have a men's counseling program as well if they want to do in-service help.
Now, I'm glad you say there's a difference between now and 5 years ago. What additional interventions would you like to see?
Well, I'd love to see a behavioral intervention brought to Calgary. We want to see an investment of $1.2 million into Calgary to support policing so that they can offer supports for men when they show up at a domestic violence encounter. There's not enough to charge. They know the men need help, to divert them and give them a warm handoff to new programs in Calgary that are actual focus on behavior change.
So that would be it's interesting. I want to hear more about how the police are central to this.
Well, if you think about it, Well, first of all, we know the majority of people who are experiencing domestic violence aren't even calling police, but those that are, we know it's severe and it's escalated. But sometimes they'll walk into a domestic violence encounter and there's not enough to have a charge and to create a charge. So, but we know that there's an emergency going on in that family. There's a crisis and they need supports. And often the practice is to do victim safety planning, which puts the burden on safety onto the victim, where we should be focusing on prevention planning with the men. We should be focusing on getting them supports and help so that they can manage and control their behavior. And that's where we need more investment. We need to support men to get the support they need in the moments that they need it. And that we have found through our research there is a window of opportunity. And so police could be intervening differently when they show up. They can be offering supports and services. And we have those supports and services in Calgary, not just through Menan. We have Calgary Counseling Services, and we have a range of organizations now that are offering supports for men.
Yeah. How do you think of the police as a partner in your research and then also in some of the solutions you're proposing?
Yeah, Calgary Police Service is an extraordinary organization. They've been so open and transparent with their data. They've been sharing their data. They've been learning alongside of us. They're interested. And today we'll have the deputy chief at the media release talking about the work they're doing, the work they want to be doing. Everybody is in this wanting to solve it, but we also need men to step up. We can change police practices, we can get more services into community, but we need men to be leading. And every day, men need to be stepping in and stepping up and supporting other men to get the help that they need.
Yeah. Well, we're happy, grateful that you're, willing to talk about the research on the radio here and identify the costs. Like, what are the next steps for you and others close to this to sort of raise the awareness and to make the push on some of the investments you're calling for?
Yeah, we'll continue. This is our third report in a series. We're going to continue to keep looking at the data and to keep, we're trying to better understand the patterns of perpetration, when we can intervene early, what type of services, and actually a call to men in the community of Calgary and Alberta to start to signal every day what healthy relationships look like through how they speak, how they act, and how they treat others. The only way out of domestic violence is for men to help lead. They are part of the solution. And this really is a call. We can keep analyzing the data, but the fact is men are the majority of perpetrators of domestic violence and sexual violence. They are key to prevention, and we need more men at the table signaling and supporting other men to stop this form of violence.